everyone, welcome to day 2 of the Lumia Zip Up Hoodie Sew Along. If you found this video and you are wondering where day 1 is, simply click on my profile and you can go to the playlists. The Lumia Zip Up Hoodie playlist will have all of the videos in there labeled by the day number, so you can start at the introductory or the day 1 post. Today we are creating piping and we're basting it onto our pieces. We are adding interfacing and grommets if you're using a drawstring option. And we are also constructing the yoke. So it's a little bit of an easier day, especially if you're not doing grommets and drawstring. It might be a good catch-up day or a jump up ahead day for you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Make sure you have subscribed to my channel so you catch all of my future videos. And look for me at Instagram, where you can find me at Sew Casually Chic. That's SEWCASUALLYCHIC, or on my blog. That's sewcasuallychic.wordpress.com. Let me know how today goes, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments. If you're going to add piping to your jacket, you'll need to do this step before you start any of the other construction. Cut out your 3 piping strips according to the chart in the pattern, and then we'll start just pinning it to the 3 pieces that will get the piping. So what you do is you take your 3 strips, or you take one of your strips and you fold it in half with the wrong sides together so that it looks nice on both sides. And all you're going to do is just start pinning it all around this top edge of your back piece. Once you have the back piece done, we'll do both of the front center pieces. Be sure to start pinning your piping at the point where the curve meets the top straight edge. You don't want piping along that top straight edge because that's where the front center joins with the hood, and you don't want piping in that seam. Once you have your piping pinned to your pieces, bring it over to the machine, and using a basting stitch, you are just going to baste everything together. Now, a basting stitch is just a lengthened straight stitch. On my machine, it is stitch number 1, and I just lengthen it to 5.0 stitch length, which is the longest it goes. All you do is stitch close to the edge, all the way around. Here is the lower back piece with the piping basted on. Okay, it just looks like that. Now we'll do the same for the front 2 center pieces. Here is the front center piece with the piping basted on, and you'll just repeat for the other front center piece. Step number 1, before you begin sewing, you need to apply your fusible interfacing to all of these pieces here. This will reinforce the areas where the zipper will be attached and give them some strength. so they don't get floppy with the zipper. So right here, this is the bottom band piece, and these are the two short ends. So I've attached some interfacing right here, and it's the fusible kind where you iron the bumpy side to your fabric, and I've put it on the wrong side of my fabric. Right here I have the collar piece, and so I've done all of the short ends. But if you had something thinner, you may want to put interfacing over the entire collar piece, and that will help your collar to have a little more stability. This is about 3/4 inch. This one is about an inch, but 3/4 inch would work. You just want to make sure your zipper tape is slightly wider than your interfacing so the interfacing doesn't peek out later. This is the front center piece. We've done the long center line and also the short outer edges. And again, I've done it to both of the pieces. The other thing you want to do is finish the bottom edge of this band. You can use your sewing machine with a zigzag stitch, which I did initially, but you couldn't see it. So then I went back through with my serger with white thread so that you can see it. And that is step 1. For steps 2 and 3, we will be working with the back yoke piece and the back. And you'll want to lay them down on your work surface like so. And then you're going to flip the yoke down onto the back piece. Now I have marked with ink the center point on both of these pieces, and they're now marked with a pin so you can see them. You'll start by pinning those points together, and then you'll come over here to the end, and the end of your yoke will go to this notch right here on your back piece. So I will pin that like so. I'll come over and do the other one as well, right over to the notch, and that's where your yoke will end. And so then you'll just go through and pin the rest. As you pin them, the two pieces will lay flat against each other. You won't be stretching either piece. Now, once they've been pinned, we'll take them over to the sewing machine. To complete step 3, we will now stitch the yoke to the back piece. We'll use a stretch stitch on the sewing machine, or you can also run it through your serger. Either way works. Use a 3/8 inch seam allowance. All right, so here's how it looks so far. I've ironed that seam where the yoke meets the back. And so the seam allowance is pointed upward, and I'm now going to top stitch it. I'll be using my cover stitch today, but you can also use a twin needle, a stretch stitch on your sewing machine, or even a lengthened straight stitch on your sewing machine would work. Before beginning a stitch on the cover stitch machine, I'm going to take a little bit of scuba, and I am going to stitch about 1 inch ahead of my fabric. Now this is so that the stitch doesn't come undone. If I just started stitching at the edge of my fabric here, some of the stitches would come undone by the time it came time for me to attach this piece to the rest of the jacket. And so I always do a little advanced stitching on another piece of fabric, and then I just cut it off later. Okay. When I get to the end of the stitch, I raise the needle to its highest point, and then I'll use this, I forget the name of this, came with my snap press. I'll grab the threads in front of the needle just below the thread guide bar and pull them out. Lift my foot, grab the threads under the needle and pull them out. Release the thread in front of the thread bar, and then I will snip here. And I can grab my fabric from the back and pull it back and snip. And doing those actions will create a knot at the end of the stitch. All right, so there is top stitched. So how did day 2 go? Let us know in the comments, or head on over to the Greenstyle Facebook group and let us know on the day 2 sew along post. Just search hashtag Lumia SAL to find all our posts for the week. We look forward to hearing from you.